because I really honestly don't want to take those donuts home. Because when I get home today, we're starting to celebrate my mother-in-law's 70th birthday, and we call it Rachel Gras instead of Mardi Gras. And there's going to be some really good gumbo from Baton Rouge.
Where's that going to be?
Real quick, we might be able to work that out.
Hiking. Yeah, thank you.
So, anyway, okay, we'll go ahead and get started if you want, unless you think I need to wait. 9:06. Yeah. I want to welcome everybody here. For those of you who may not have seen me, or I know there's a couple of new residents in here. In fact, let me start with that. If you are a new resident in Bryant, can you raise your hand? Thank you all for that. I think it's a great city. I love it. I hope you get to become loving it too. We're just trying to do nothing but good things in Bryant to make it better and better and better. We do have some problems, as any other city does, and we're going to do our best to solve those problems and resolve those problems. Sometimes, as you know, with a problem that's been there for years and years and years, it does take some time. Okay? But we're in the process for most of them, and sometimes people bring up ideas and thoughts that I've never thought of, which is great. I'm always open to ideas. Okay? I'll never say, oh, that's a dumb idea. I learned a long time ago there's no such thing as a dumb idea because I have them all the time. Anyway, I want to tell y'all a couple of things. I actually gave a talk earlier this week to the Bryant Rotary, and I gave them a little preview of the State of the City address. You may or may not be aware of it. Every mayor in Arkansas has to give a State of the City address within the first 90 days of the year. Right now, my plan is to present that State of the City address to the City Council in February. It's a council meeting. Generally, the way I do it is I write out my address and I distribute it to the council, and I read just a small portion of it because, in all honesty, most of it, people don't want to hear me standing up here for hours and hours and hours talking and boring you to death. Then you can get it. It'll be online. It'll be on social media and stuff. You can get it, download it, look at it, review it. If you have questions, feel free to contact me. I'm usually always at City Hall. Some days, apparently, when people come to see me and they wait for me, I'm not. If I would have known you were there, I would have tried my best to show up. But generally, I'm there unless I have a meeting somewhere. Bryant has done really well this past year, 2019. Our sales tax were up about 5%, which is pretty phenomenal from 2018. I'm glad to hear that because that allows us to do a little bit more things. I will say, of that sales tax money, it's distributed in a variety of ways throughout the city. Some of it, 1/3 of the sales tax money we raise with our 3% sales tax rate or city rate, 1/3 of that money goes to what's called the general fund, and we can use it for whatever we want to use it for. Mostly it goes to salaries and things like that because that's, as you know, with any industry or business. And honestly, the government's a business. It takes up about 75% of your budget, salaries and benefits. So that we work with that. The rest of that other 2% goes to police, fire, parks, animal control, streets. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Parks, fire. Oh yeah, part of it actually, a good half of 1% of that 3% goes in bond obligations. So we use that money to pay our bonds that we have, that we've issued in the past, to build things like the fire stations that were built a couple of years ago, and to help us with parks improvements and stuff like that. That we just, I believe, with the parks bond obligations, we've almost obligated all of the 2016 bond that we have for improvements, which is good. That brings me to a couple of projects that we've done relating to parks this past year. One of them is Ashley Park, which is by the City Hall, if you're familiar with Bryant. It is the oldest city park in Bryant, and it was in a great state of disrepair. Using some of that bond obligation and some other funds that we were able to get out of the general fund, we were able to update Ashley Park, the first phase of it, which included redoing the baseball fields, putting in new fencing, new lighting and stuff, making it to where it could be seen, okay? And making it to where it could be used, because in the past it was not usable. For the past 3 or 4 years, it was in such a state of disrepair that nobody could play on those fields. And it's kind of sad, and I hated to see that happen. We also, last year, we built a new dog park at Alcoa 40, using some funds that we allocated to that, and some money that was raised from donations and things like that. So we're in the process of improving our parks, because one of the things I think that people move here for is for the amenities we have. Our parks, just the general overall living, trails, walking trails, we're always open for, what they're called multi-purpose trails, which is where people can walk, bike, or run on them. Occasionally on the newest one we opened up on Bryant Parkway, they seem to have a tendency to try to drive down the multi-purpose trail. So we've tried to solve that problem with some bollards in there, so if you saw those go up in the middle of the trail, you understand why. Somebody decided that was a freeway part of the road, and we said, no, it's really not. It's kind of dangerous. I don't know how they could figure that out. So we did that. Another thing we did last year was take $1 million out of that general fund as well and allocate that towards some stormwater related projects, because if you've been in Bryant for a while, you know there's certain areas of Bryant that have a problem with flooding because of poor planning in the past. The neighborhoods were built in such a way that they didn't take into account the flood waters and stuff like that, so they didn't prepare for it like they should have. So now what we're having to do is go back through and study those areas and say, okay, what do we need to do to fix this problem? So we went in, we've gone in and cut several areas with the money, we've done the engineering on those areas, and now we've identified some projects associated with those to give us the greatest impact for our dollars. Generally, when we have situations like that, the first thing we concentrate on in those neighborhoods are houses that flood. If we have houses that flood in that area and we've known that has happened, then that's where we'll try to concentrate first, because we want to minimize the flooding in houses if at all possible. Now, if a yard floods, it's really unfortunate, but it's not life-threatening at that time. So that kind of puts that on a little bit of the back burner. We're still looking towards solving that problem and making sure that runoff moves off faster and things like that. But that's some of the things we've been doing this past year. Fire department, you built their new training facility on the south side of town behind fire station number 2 and the new junior high school. If you go down that way, you'll see it. They used you know what a Connex box is. They had a company out of Houston bring some up, and that company built this thing, and it's a really neat fire training facility. So our firemen, they're lifting weights upstairs apparently. So on a good note, I think they're actually over there lifting weights and not here, so I think we're safe. And our city engineer's here, so if you have any troubles, he can do structural analysis.
I can't lift weights, though.
You can't lift weights, okay. So anyway, the fire department built that facility, which is really nice because it allows them to do training 24/7 if they want to. If they need a night training program with one of their shifts or all their shifts, they can do it. If they need it during the day, they can put smoke in that thing and make it to where the firemen can't see it all and they have to find their way through it. There's different doors that flip around so they can change the layout inside those boxes as well. It's a really neat facility. In addition, I was talking to the fire chief, and we thought, and Chief Minden, the police chief back here, by the way, is Chief Minden. I didn't introduce everybody, I'll do that in a minute. But we thought of the fact, and I think Chief was there at the time, that, hey, we could actually use this for some training for police officers as they enter a building, because the hallways, we can change the hallway layout so they can go in and practice clearing rooms and things like that in a controlled environment as opposed to out in the real world when it's more dangerous. The more practice the fire and police do, the better off they can protect them. I'm trying to think of some other things that we need to talk about that I want to bring up. While I'm thinking about that, let me introduce you to a couple of people around here. Standing up in the brown jacket is Ted Taylor. He's our city engineer. The gentleman that's sitting down with a hat that's a Bryant Parks hat and a sweatshirt, that's Chris Tree. He is the director of parks. So he allowed me to use his facility today, and I greatly appreciate it.
You're welcome,
Dana Poindexter is sitting right back there as well. She is my assistant. She is the brains of the outfit. She keeps me on my toes and going in the right direction. Okay, so without her, I don't know what I would do. Nikki's not with the city, but she's a great person. Shelly Poole is back here with my Celine. Hi, Shelly. She's not part of the city either, but she's always around, so she may as well be. Sergeant Wu is one of our patrol sergeants. He's a great guy. If you ever get to know him, I know he looks really young, but he's not. He's young as he looks.
Just call you. I gotta think I did.
I had to check it once to make sure he was old enough. It does. It makes you younger, absolutely. Look at me, I'm 57 now. So. Chief Menden Police Chief Menden is right here. He came to us last year, and it's probably the greatest addition I made to the city last year, honestly. And right next to him is Jason Brown. He is the president and CEO of the Bryant Chamber of Commerce. So if you need to know anything about the city, they're the people to talk to. I've only been here 20 years. Some of these people have been here their lifetimes. Like my wife, she's been here basically all her life, so she tells me all kinds of stuff that's happened in the past. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Anyway, moving on. Don't want to ramble, because I know y'all have a lot of things to do. We did that. Like I say, we got $1 million that we've allocated to a variety of different things. We were able to put a light at Highway 5 and Reynolds Road. I'm sorry, not Highway 5, Reynolds Road. Reynolds Road and Hill Farm Road by the new junior high. This past year, it's what's called a temporary light, but it's going to be there as long as it needs to be. We're not going to take it down. Temporary doesn't mean that. It just means that when the highway department finally decides to widen that road like they need to, then they'll have to replace the light and fix it for us. It's a better way for us to do it. We're in the process still of getting a light at Highway 5 and Parkway. That intersection by the new big red up there that people have complained about, and I get it. There are accidents there on a regular basis. I understand we are trying our best to get RDOT to work with us on that, but they are pushing back like nobody's business. I got some indications this past week, talking to a couple of people, that they think the reason why RDOT is pushing back on several projects, because that's not the only project they're pushing back on, is because in November there's an item that's going to be on the ballot, which is the highway property tax, or highway tax is what they call it. It's a half-cent state sales tax that goes to the highways, okay? It's already in place right now. So the current one is set to expire and they're just looking to extend it. It's not a new tax, but the trick with that is if they don't fund that, or if that doesn't pass, a lot of the highway projects that RDOT does will be pushed back or won't be done for a long time. In addition, part of that money that's collected on the state level, cities and counties get. It's called turnback. We get about between $300,000 and $400,000 a year for our streets from that tax. So if we lose that tax, we lose that money, and we have to figure out a way to make up that shortfall in the streets budget, and that's not good. So I'll be voting yes for it. I hope y'all do too, just to keep us going. And it's a continuation, so you really won't notice an effect. You know. That's really about all I have with that. Oh yeah. Oh, a couple of roads that we're looking at working on that have been known to flood and past. If you know Spring Hill Road at Hilltop, it's kind of a low-lying area. We're in the process of doing the engineering on it right now to elevate parts of that and fix the drainage in that area so it won't flood every time we have a big rain. So even if there's some flooding happening, you can still drive through there. It's a safety thing. Same with Boone Road. Parts of Boone Road habitually, with a little bit of rain, floods. We're in the process of doing the engineering for that too, to mitigate that problem to the best of our ability. We can't solve them all at once, so we have to kind of prioritize these things. So I appreciate everybody's patience on all these projects. There's some people that have some drainage near their houses right now that we're in the process of working on. We're doing some of these projects, we try our best to do them in-house, because when we send it out for somebody to work on it, we can get the engineering done and we know what to do, and we can do it, but it takes us a little bit longer to get it done. Where if we went out to an engineering firm and had them do it, it costs a lot more money. So as a way to make our dollars stretch, we're trying to do a lot of these projects in-house. It just makes them take a little bit longer, but they will get done. And like I say, if there's flooding in the area in houses, that's what we concentrate mostly on, to try to solve that problem.
Mayor, can I piggyback on that, since we do have a lot of new people in
Yeah.
here, just to kind of remind everybody. So in 2017,
Yes,
when we had,
2017.
so, we had the bad rain that came through, and there were several homes that flooded, and that's when Public Works and our engineering department went out and looked at all of the houses that flooded during that time, in the neighborhoods, and then set a priority list on that information combined with the other stormwater needs.
That's correct. But, and I don't know if you, several of these people in this room were, I think were at a special council meeting.
I remember, I was.
And that information still is readily available on our website, that kind of showed the areas that were kind of concentrated. And that's what we honed in on, was where we had houses flooding in those areas. And those, I mean, hey, we're still working on it. It's 2 years, almost 3 years later, and we're still working on it. But we are making good progress,
Yeah.
we feel like.
We have made really good progress, because the last most recent, this past in 2019, we had a pretty good flood event as well.
Mhm.
And the number of houses that I heard about flooding were substantially lower. I mean, it was just 1 or 2 or 3 is what I heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Compared to the, I don't know how many, I can't remember how many in 2017.
There was over 60.
Yeah, there was approximately 60 houses that were flooded in those areas. And there were areas that were concentrated, and some of those were historical areas. Some of those were areas that the city has acquired through annexation, that those problems were already there, and we're picking them up, and we're trying to go back and fix those, as you mentioned earlier. But some of the neighborhoods that are, of focus, I know Brandon's near and dear to the Stillman Loop. It is to us too. We're continuing to work in those areas. We're doing engineering on Woodland Park and Rodeo right now. We've kind of been aware of that area for a long time. It had problems back in 2007. The Hidden Forest or Hidden Creek area has got a bunch of issues. We've got surveyors out there doing work. You may have seen them out there. There's other ones as associated with West Point, Robinwood, Stony Brook. We just finished a big project in Stony Brook. Let's see, they're numerous, and they're tiered and listed as a matter of priority of house flooding. So that's where you see we spend our efforts.
Yeah, so, and to just add to that, so from that 2017 list, they really tackled the issues that they felt would hopefully prevent any future home floodings. Each one of those neighborhoods, though, I mean, you're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars to multi-million-dollar projects to get them completed. So that's why when the mayor said they took on some things in-house, we went out there and tried to get those small problems fixed. There's several neighborhoods that have a master plan.
Yes, I would like to mention that if there's anybody in here from the Devswood, Raintree, we're getting back engineering now that we're kind of focusing on. We're kind of tiering that too. There's 2 major projects in that neighborhood, as well as like 7 or 8 smaller projects. So you're gonna see kind of some activity going out there for bid on those projects. We hope to engage on those. I mean, we're already in the spring cycle. We're gonna get rains. We're gonna see flooding, and you're gonna see us out there looking at those things. But hopefully we'll start seeing some more construction in those areas.
So you'll see us slow down too because of the rain. And that's what we've been dealing with over the past 30 to 60 days. I mean, you guys, how much time have you spent outside? Our guys can't work in the rain, and they also can't work until the ground is dry enough to do the work that they're on. So some aesthetics, other things, you're gonna see that slow down that happens, but just know that the plans are out there, the projects are out there. In fact, you can look online under stormwater, and they've got them all listed out. If you don't see your neighborhood, let us know. We'll get it added or let you know where it's at. So a lot of things going on in regards to stormwater and engineering.
And we're talking about one more, and I will say this, 2017 was my first year on city council, and that was an interesting experience for me. I spent basically 2 weeks after that flood visiting people at their houses and listening to them with their flooding issues and stuff while I was on council. And then, they came and visited with the council as well, which is great. We were always open for comments at public council. One other thing I'd like to say is, as you know, the school has been through a major construction phase over the past year or two. They were able to build a new junior high, which opened up this year, which is a great facility, probably one of the best junior highs I've ever seen in the state of Arkansas. They have got a new cafeteria on the high school, so now they can have lunch twice a day as opposed to 5 times a day at the high school. Have enough space for kids to get in there because the other cafeteria wasn't big enough. They built a new fine arts facility at the high school, so it can actually hold at least one class, because Bryant High School was kind of big, in case y'all didn't realize that. If you went to there, you know how big it is now. If you taught there like I did, you really know how big it was. And they built a new arena, which opened up in January, early January. Great little thing. With that, they're able now to, this year, in March, I believe it is, they're going to host the 6A girls and boys state basketball tournament. First time ever it's been in Arkansas because we've never had a place for it. So during that week, or 4 days or so of that basketball tournament, expect more traffic.
It's March 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Okay. Yeah, I knew it was early March, I just didn't know the exact date. Expect more traffic during those times, especially in the afternoons and evenings. Expect the restaurants to be fuller because these kids eat. And expect our hotels to be full because a lot of these teams will be coming in from Northwest Arkansas and stuff, and they will be staying here during the duration while they're playing.
There's 14 teams total, and that doesn't include all the parents, grandparents.
So I mean, it's an economic boom for us, and I appreciate it. I'd love to be able to host it every year, just for that, because that will help the sales tax, and that's outside money coming into the city of Bryant that we get to use, not just the citizens of Bryant. So that's good. So I'm really grateful for the school. It's probably, in my opinion, and I've worked in 2 other school districts besides Bryant when I was a teacher. Bryant is the best school district in the state, in my opinion. There's over 9,000 students in the school district. There's over 1,000 teachers in the school district. So they do a really good job of educating your children. I know they did a really good job of educating mine. My youngest is working on a PhD now. He had no trouble. So anyway, with all that, we are too bored. I will open it up for questions and suggestions, but I want to start with one place in particular. This gentleman over here, I believe he wants to talk about a proposal he has. I believe you're an Eagle Scout, correct? Or you're working towards your Eagle? So come on up and tell us about this. It's kind of a neat little idea. We just got to figure out how we want to do it and where we're going to do it. So.
My name is Sam. This is Wedge. We are students at Bryant Junior High, and we are both in Boy Scouts. We are both working towards our Eagle, and for Eagle, you need a Eagle Scout project. And I wanted to do something that is meaningful to me. And we both skateboard. We love skateboarding, and we do it all the time. There are 3 skate parks within an hour from Little Rock, and none of them are in Bryant. There is one in, there's one in Little Rock, and that's Canis. Then there's one in Benton, and that's Tyndall, and then there's one in Riverside. And that's, yeah. All 3 of them are not amazing.
They're not amazing because they're not Bryant.
Yeah, the location of them are very odd. Riverview is kind of out there in the middle of nowhere. Canis is somewhat in the middle of the woods, and Tyndall is just, it's just kind of weird.
It's in the middle of the city. Parking's not very good.
But yeah, so just, I would love to have a skate park in Bryant, because then we wouldn't have to drive so far to get to it. And I also want a skate park that is like actually really good. I did a lot of like research on it, and I've done a petition for it, and we got over 1,000 signatures to get this done, and all positive comments, all positive feedback. Okay, yeah. So we were thinking about putting it in Mills Park, because Mills Park has so much land. It has 30, I think, acres of just open space in the middle. And Canis Park is where we go the most. And I just kind of based it off Canis. Canis is 9,000 square feet. In terms of acres, that is less than 1 acre. So if we built a skate park around that size, it would take up no space in Mills Park. And also Mills Park is a great location. There's 2 like neighborhoods near it. It's a hot spot. People go there all the time. And there's also several activities to do there. There's an actual park, and then there's a swimming facility and tennis courts and stuff like that. So having a skate park there next to all that stuff, I think would be very beneficial, because it's very family friendly, and they're there's things for everybody to do there, and not just go to the skate park and then that's it. But yeah, I think, I know a lot of people who skate, who both do.
Do you have a preliminary layout?
We chose a couple parks that were in the diameter of what we're thinking about, and these are just like certain designs, but we can do our
So there's this company.
Make sure he gets one. I'll say this, I think it's a good idea. It does provide an opportunity for kids that don't normally do other things. It provides them an opportunity to go and recreate and have a good time and engage in physical activity, as opposed to sitting at home like a lot of our children do these days, and FaceTime or Snapchat.
I'm his mother.
Yes,
okay?
ma'am.
I have 2 younger boys also.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're outside a lot. And
I
as far as
understand.
the location, again, these other parks we mentioned, even though it's great, you would say in the past that
It's not very
skateboarding maybe
convenient.
has a bad rap. Well, it's not necessarily the convenience, it's also, there's drug paraphernalia, there's drug use, alcohol use, poor language, it's very isolated, there's homelessness around. So these are 2 very mature young boys
Right.
that I could leave somewhere and do something. I will not leave them at these parks.
I wouldn't either.
Okay, so as far as a parent, Mills Park is appealing because I have all ages of children. I have a 9-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 14-year-old. We've got, like you said, this is the playgrounds, the walking parks, the pool. We can spend a day there, and everybody in the family is happy. Everybody is safe.
Great.
I could leave them, go get food, come back, and not worry about it. It's the location, because when people isolate the skate parks because they don't want they think that that's gonna make it bad or have
They
the
think you
riffraff
attract
going.
riffraff, yeah.
It's not. It's because if it's put in a location that's welcoming and family friendly, because you also have biking, scooters, things
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that, that's, like you say, gets them out there and gets them active. But if it's in a location that the parents are gonna feel safe and comfortable with, that's gonna attribute to it.
Can B and X bikes and all kinds of stuff be on the same?
Yes.
Y'all see that when you go to these parks?
Yes, BMX and scooter and skateboarding are all like extreme sports. They're not like team sports, they're individual.
So they can all use the same layout that's on
Yeah,
there?
pretty
That's
much.
cool.
Yeah.
That even makes it more convenient.
Right.
I think honestly, I think it's a great idea. Probably get with Ted and talk to him, see what might need to be done. And, we can start the process of looking at it. I can't promise exactly when it would happen. Of course, as you know, we gotta get funding for things as well, so.
And most of these types of projects, they start being funneled through, the Parks Committee.
Right.
So, and those are public
Yeah,
meetings
so
as
you
well.
got 2 prime people right back there, the city engineer, that can give you some thoughts and ideas on what you need plan-wise and stuff, and the parks director back there that
Are there skateboard tournaments or anything across the state anytime? Like,
No. There's one place in Fort Smith called Bordertown. Unfortunately, they're closing down in March though. It's indoor too. They've done like a couple like competitions, but not anything like actual competitions. Canis has had some, but they do this thing every year called Canis Bash, and that's just like it's not really a competition. Everybody just comes out and skates together and has a good time.
Again, with the Canis location, like I said, for this area of the state, the facility is one of the better ones, and partly, I'm not sure how they, because obviously it's city land, but the skaters themselves, and we're talking probably 30 to 40-year-olds, are building it themselves and doing construction and shaping things.
Yeah.
So when they have events, it's sort of geared to that older crowd, which then some of that lends to some of the other activities that are not conducive for children. And so, I mean, they're not all bad. We've made friends with some, like I said, I stay with my children, but that is geared to a different age group. But, you know, we've attended those and they've had fun, but if we had a
I think
location.
it's a great
we
idea,
could do things
honestly,
with
we
it.
just need to start, and I'm glad you came so we can start that process and stuff with.
And these boys have actually been to a skate camp in Pittsburgh
I'd break something
this past
like
summer.
that.
Are the structures that are on this concrete pad, are they permanent or are they temporary? Can you like move them?
Permanent. Concrete would be permanent. There's three like typical materials that you make skate parks in. Wood would definitely not work because of weather. Metal is a possibility, but metal is not.
Metal is like what's at Tyndall, and so it's a prefabricated, they build it there, they drop it in and sit, but it's not the best. The ideal is the smooth track of concrete, and then of course that's permanent, and it's
Metal gets
designed
wet
for
out.
all of it, yeah. Or you can have both combined.
But yeah, the skate camp is called Woodward, and it's in the summer. It's in Pennsylvania. There's a lot of different locations. Like they have different facilities, but the main one is in Pennsylvania. But yeah, we went there last summer.
It could definitely open, yeah, and it's great, it could definitely open up a lot of possibilities, and like I said, I appreciate y'all coming in, and we'll get with them, and then we're gonna sit down. and
I have a
talk
question.
Yes, ma'am.
We're talking about tournaments. Are you thinking about, as you get older, to hold tournaments? Be the person who creates the tournaments, if there is one?
Or director of.
If you had an organization that would help you put it on, would you be willing to do that?
Yes, I would. Yes, if we like had people to do that, that would be amazing.
I love Jason Brown. He's always working with ideas.
Police chief wants to ask a question.
No, I don't ask a question, I just applaud you for what you're doing. I would support it. I think anything we can do to occupy our kids and to keep them here instead of going off other places. Because here, we can protect you here.
Right.
It's a pretty safe city. We'll keep it that way. I don't like the fact that you got over to Central Arkansas to go. I'd rather you stay here and hang out in your own
I
neighborhood. and do
would
it.
rather that, because I spend a lot of my time driving them
So-
and hanging out.
And that'd give us one more place to hang out too.
For sure, and we'll start talking about how the process and how it goes, and those will be the two key guys that'll work through that process.
One of your jobs to be able to
Thank you, gentlemen.
skateboard.
And I'm gonna open it up for everybody else. Anybody else
We
have
need
any
Wi-Fi,
questions,
so we need-
suggestions, comments? Yes, ma'am, Ms. Poole.
When the Hilton is built at that cut-through street with no name.
The street with no name, yes.
That's a
Can we
freeway.
please name it that?
Will they be required to do anything about the street?
Yes, they're being required to do half-street improvements. And then we are in the process of, I think in conjunction, we're gonna do the other half-street improvements, correct? So yes, the road will be improved. You know where David's Burgers is? It's over right behind there. And behind that hotel, next to it.
It gets a lot of traffic at early mornings from people taking their kids to the back door of Collegeville.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Elementary.
So yes, that will be improved. In fact, David's Burgers is in the process right now, of the initial stages of fixing that entrance off the access road, that driveway there, to make that better because it's torn up and. So yes. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Speaking of streets, and a lot of traffic,
What's the update on getting Boone Road finished? All the way to Alcoa? Which would be dangerous.
Well, it already goes all the way to Alcoa.
I know, but it needs redone.
Oh, you mean like resurfacing and stuff like that?
Right.
That's probably part of, I'll defer to my engineer on that one.
Okay, so Boone Road's got a myriad of problems. The first one we see obviously is the flooding. I think it closes like 2 or 3 times a year, given certain rain, certain events. So the first thing that we've looked at is doing the engineering to extend the bridge and bring it further west so that we'll take care of this area out in front of the park so that it remains open during those periods. And then obviously, yeah, I think you're referring to some of the ditches, and as you go further towards Mount Carmel, it gets a little bit rough out there. It is in our overlay plan as far as improvement, but it's one of those things as we have money, just like the mayor mentioned, that we could potentially see a $300,000 shortfall that comes out of our street funds that does overlays. So it's there, we're kind of waiting to see what some of these things happen, as well as fixing other things. If you go down the list, and we have pavement analysis that give us a ranking of each one of these roads. Boone's kind of bad, but we have Mills Park that's kind of bad. We got Spring Hill Road that's definitely bad, and a lot of that's all based off how much traffic you see. So it's on the list. It's just it's going to be a while.
There's a lot of traffic over here.
I
There
will
is,
offer
yes,
the
sir.
suggestion, if any of y'all play the lotto, and you happen to win big, feel free to make a small donation to the city for specific things.
I will.
Well, we're not big on that renaming roads, but we might put a sign up.
But we'll recognize you somehow, I promise you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, are there any plans for having a sidewalk from, say, out here on Boone Road up toward downtown Bryant? Are there any plans for a sidewalk? The reason I'm asking is, I come to the gym early in the morning, and when I go home sometimes, there are young people walking through the grass because
ma'am.
the road is dangerous.
Yes, ma'am.
In that area.
And if I have my way, we'll put sidewalks wherever we can. We're in the process of adding sidewalks in some areas where we know a high traffic, especially for kids. On Boone Road, yes, I think we do need a sidewalk on there. And I think it would be perfect honestly, to put a multi-purpose trail from Reynolds Road all the way out to here. So you could ride a bicycle or something out there.
Yes.
It would make my life easier.
I know I'm not always the first one to get online to go look, but we have on our website, if you go down to the bottom, there's a GIS map. It's kind of clunky, but if you open it up, there's a section under planning that shows the master trail plans. And so you can kind of see that where we have anticipation of sidewalks, bike trails, dual purpose trails. And one of them is out here, and it intersects down through the park, and it goes all the way over to Alcoa. That nice shared use trail, it connects to that eventually, but as time comes, it costs money.
Yeah. And for the trail projects that we do, we're always pursuing grants for that. And a lot of times those are 80-20 grants. We contribute 20% and the grant provides 80% of the funding. So when we can get those for certain areas, we utilize those for those areas and go on. We're working on a grant right now for part of the Parkway as we continue it on south of Show. So, any other questions? Yes,
One other question. Do y'all ever plan to change the speed limit on the Parkway?
Probably not.
Okay.
It's 35, I believe now.
35.
Yes, ma'am, and I know it's very hard at times to go 35.
Yes, and that was my cutout to go to my church.
You gotta get to church real fast, don't you?
Let's leave a little early.
And I could go down Reynolds Road and to church faster than I could go down the Parkway. I thought I was gonna cut off my time.
Maybe, but at least you don't have to stop as much.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's good.
You ever drive through Shannon Hill?
Not lately.
Mr. Wallace?
Good point.
Lights on that road or roundabout or anything like that. What's the point?
Well, the reason there's not any lights is because on the initial part of that project, before I became mayor, they got cut because of budgetary concerns.
So the safety wasn't concerned.
Apparently not then.
But I think
We
it's
are, honestly, we are in the process of pursuing lights in some of those areas. But again, and I hate to keep saying this, costs money. So we've got to get those funds and get them in there. Yeah, it's the safety. What?
You just do away with the roundabout?
They're already there, I can't do a thing. There's only one on the Parkway.
Just straighten it out, drop through.
Right, yeah. Take a couple fire trucks.
Oh, they could.
I think somebody's actually done that, and they took out one of the streetlights.
Yeah, but that was.
I didn't do it.
Well, that was well before the roundabout though.
Yeah.
That wasn't roundabout related. I think it's fun to go in there and drive around.
Those are all.
Commonwealth, yes, sir. He lives down in Midtown.
I understand that there's a sewer line that runs down the street, and, it's on one side of the street, and, to tie into the city, it's your responsibility to get your sewer properly to tie into the city. Everything that's after the city then is the responsibility of the
Correct.
city. I live on the other side of the street from the sewer line, the main sewer line, so they have run pipe under the street to tie into, for houses on my side of the street. Under the street for my sewer line, the line has sagged, and it now has a bow in it, and a bad bow, and it traps all my sewer in that swale. And it won't flow through it, and it's in the green pipe. The city owns the green pipe, it's my understanding.
What's your address, sir?
3632.
3632.
Yeah.
Commonwealth?
Right, right on
Okay.
the main drag there.
Well,
And,
writing that address down.
I've been
definitely
told by
look
the
into
city that it's my responsibility to dig up the street, me, a private citizen, to have the street dug up across Commonwealth, and have that, done by a licensed contractor, and have that repaired on my dime, and have that repaired and put back in according to city specs. And that doesn't make sense to me, because I tie into it on my side of the street, but the city's portion of it is the part that has gone bad.
Okay.
And I have proof on a video that goes through the sewer.
So they
that I have
cameraed your
on-
video?
Yeah.
They cameraed your sewer? Well, if you don't mind us getting to that,
Yeah.
that will be beneficial for us to look at and see what we can do to resolve that issue.
I'll give you a card if you would, contact me, but I'll put you in touch with the sewer department, and then no one sees it.
Okay. I've called them and they keep saying that it's my responsibility.
To be honest with you, yeah, I mean, the city infrastructure is the maintenance. The private is where the service line ties into the sewer. But, I mean, but once again, we'll verify your short too.
Yeah, we'll try to work our way through that process. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, on the Commonwealth area, when you first turn off of Reynolds onto Commonwealth,
Yes, ma'am.
where that clock tower is,
Yes, ma'am.
and all those floodlights down at the bottom, why aren't they lit?
I
Because
don't-
if you come from the Benton side on Highway 5, you have and especially if you're new, you have a real tendency to, it's gonna get run into.
I honestly don't think those lights are functioning right now. And I will say this, I live in Midtown, and I honestly do not even know who owns that clock tower or those lights.
I'll tell you about the history of that tower.
We're in the process of working our way through to make verifying ownership on those things, so we can get that fixed.
That tower was built by an attorney who served some prison time.
Yes, ma'am, I know that, he's the one that started Midtown.
Yes, and he's the one that put that up.
I understand that, but I still don't know who owns it.
And whose responsibility is it to
Right.
get the light?
That's why actually I was looking into that this week, trying to determine that.
And there were a lot of promises made.
Yes, ma'am.
When that was put up.
Yes, ma'am.
For the benefit of people who live, on Commonwealth. We were supposed to be able to use that pool, things like that, things that really fell through because it
Well,
was.
yeah, we
a
understand.
crook.
Yes, Wallace,
Is it a map with like severe floodplains in Bryant?
there is a floodplain map.
Mhm. If you, that same thing, that GIS map at the bottom, if you open it up, it's kind of weird. I don't understand why it's under planning, but if you open the planning,
Yeah,
subfolder.
you'll click on a thing called layers, and it'll
Yeah.
give you some tabs, and you click on different boxes, and it'll light up, and it'll highlight different things.
You know, they see the website kind of hard to navigate around sometimes.
It is, it's a little clunky, you get used to it, but,
Google
if
is
you,
real good at finding things on the website.
if you widen the part that says planning, there's one that says floodplains, and you click it, and there's several ones that'll show you the base flood elevations, it'll show you the areas where.
Right.
And there's also a stormwater tab too, that kind of shows you where all the pathways are for all the stormwater.
Also,
I don't
Mr.
think it's
Wallace,
okay.
I did get your emails yesterday, I haven't had a chance to do anything with them yet, but I did get them.
When was the last time that was updated?
Well,
The GIS, it's continually
Well, it's
updated.
again,
Is the floodplains in
I
there?
have every time
Recently, FEMA recently issued, in fact, I got hard copies of it not long ago, the most recent updates for the floodplains. I don't know if they're incorporated on the GIS layer yet, because we actually don't do that incorporation. I think the county winds up doing that.
When you click on that link, it actually takes you away from the city site, and that's, you know, a different, the whole GIS thing, and it's updated.
But yeah, so. Yes, sir.
I'm brand new here, I came in from Alabama, a short time back, and I've been coming here.
Well,
We won't hold it against you.
Hey, I like Alabama, it's all
But
right.
all the time I spent in Alabama, I was still a racer.
Okay.
Nobody's perfect, sir. I like LSU, but that's okay.
Meeting
I'll
adjourned.
tell you a quick story, then I'll bring up what I'm interested. Went to Sunday school one Sunday morning, and Arkansas had just played Auburn, and they were taking prayer requests, and Arkansas had put it on pretty hard. And I said, if you take prayer requests, I think we should take time to pray for the Auburn fans. And the old gentleman up front stood up and said, hey, son, we don't go there from here. But anyway, I've been coming here and I've really enjoyed it, but we've got a problem here in the parking lot, the street. And I think, this is a place I should come and mention. And I had nothing to do with it, but I will be coming here. But we need to get that prepared before it gets really bad. It's bad now, but every day we leave it, it's gonna get worse.
Yeah, you're talking about those potholes out there?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we'll get, the street department will come out here probably very soon. They generally have to wait till those things are dried out, so they get the asphalt in there, and they'll put a patch or something on those to,
The big thing is we had a hard rain,
Yes.
somebody not don't know, you're gonna drop it.
yeah. I know, I've hit it in my truck before, I understand, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Tell them about, they can record that.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you for, I meant to mention that earlier. For those of you that are new here especially, on the city website, www.cityofbryant.com, there is a feature called Report a Concern. So if you see something that needs to be fixed, or like that, you can go on there and click Report a Concern and pick the proper, like, streets or whatever it is. And if you're not sure, just take your best guess, and we'll get it to where it needs to. And fill out that form, and it generates a ticket, which goes right into the workflow. So that's a good way for us to keep track of things as well, because most of the time when we get these reports by email or phone, somebody in the city winds up doing that same exact thing, just to make it to where it goes into that workflow and we can track it better, because, you know, as well as I do, somebody calls somebody, hey, y'all need to fix this, it gets forgotten sometimes, so.
Also reporting concern on yard debris.
Correct, with our new yard waste
Very
program
effective.
that we started. It's going on year round for the rest of, at least for as long as I'm mayor. It's going on.
New program that's
You basically set it up, you get your yard waste out to the curb, you report a concern on there, and either the first or the third Tuesday of the month, I believe it is.
second and fourth.
Second and fourth, okay, second and fourth Tuesday of the month, they, you know, they, is when they schedule the pickups and they come around and pick all that stuff up.
And it's wonderful.
It's beautiful, it's great. I've not had to use it yet because my yard doesn't have any trees in it, so.
You can donate lots of these too.
That's okay, I don't need it, it's all right. I have to deal with growing up in the fields in front of my house.
Pardon my ignorance, I know my family does. But what is the term on mayor?
4-year term. I've gotten 1 year out of the way, I got 3 more left on this.
We got you 3 more.
You got me for 3 more, and Lord willing, the creek don't rise, 2 years from now, I'll say, hey, I'm running again. And if everybody's agreeable to it, I'll run another 4-year term. So I can see some of these bigger projects to finalization. So, and if at that point the city decides it's not a good idea for me to be mayor, then I won't be mayor. Simple as that. And I'll just cruise on into retirement.
I don't know if it was your idea or some of your help, but these meetings are great.
It was kind of mine, but honestly, I'm gonna give some of that credit to the brains of the outfit in the back, Dana. She said, hey, I saw somebody else doing this, and I think it might be a good idea, and I said, it's a great idea to do this. Even when it's the same people every month, I don't mind, because that means I get to know y'all, and we get to have a good time, and we get to eat donuts and drink coffee. Yes, ma'am.
I just moved here the 1st of October, and I stopped one of the police officers one day and asked him if there was any place that had a map of Bryant that was consolidated, because I have spent more time trying to find City Hall.
Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, so last week I was down at the clerk's office, and the new, I don't know where the guy is from the Chamber of Commerce.
He stepped out.
Okay, I got a hold of the new magazine, and it is absolutely beautiful. I wish every city, I came here from Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh roads are, you don't know, 400 and some bridges, and you have to go up a hill to get to every one. And so it was just, befuzzling. I know there's a map in there. I do think that those maps need to be distributed, because if people don't get a Chamber of Commerce magazine, they don't have a map. And the police officer told me that at Big Red you could get maps. I went into Big Red. They said, you don't know anything about it.
Well, I will definitely talk to the chamber about
So if they
that.
could
That's a
be
good idea, yeah.
distributed, because there's a lot of people that just moved here that are probably as lost as I am.
That's a
And
great
I
idea.
lived in Arkansas for 30 years, and
Well,
I think
honestly, I Google things a lot of times. I use Google.
I have
Maps,
to
but,
Google, and, that just
Anytime I go to Little Rock,
and the
sure.
maps are wonderful, but they need to be widespread maps, because it's changed.
It's a great idea.
There are maps in the hotels.
Are there?
What?
And we
There are
do,
maps in the hotels.
we do include the chamber book, and so when you start water service here in Bryant, you get a welcome, you should get a welcome packet from us, you did not get that. We'll check on that.
Yes, sir.
Kind of more geared towards the chief back here. But we ran into a lady, locked herself out of her car. Middle of the day, she was in her 80s at Walgreens. We called, I saw her, I'm like, you ain't standing outside in this 30-degree weather for fun outside your vehicle. So we called the PD. She locked her keys in her car. There was only one police officer on duty that was allowed to unlock vehicles that was tied up. Is there, what's the reason?
Go for it.
The supervisors. Previous to us getting the lockout kits, some officers were damaging vehicles, and there was supposedly a lawsuit, so they annexed it for a while. The new chief come in and give us the lock kits back, but the supervisors have them to make that decision on, you got some vehicles that, are $100,000.
Yeah.
And if you tear them up in the city, they try to sue the city, it's a big deal.
Even if we have you sign a disclaimer, you can still sue us. So we'll do it in emergencies.
Yeah.
We try to, it's not the You know, if there's a burglary over here and an unlock over here, they go to the burglary. Because the local tow shops also do it. And there's pawn shops. I mean, but we do offer the service.
The locals.
I just can't guarantee there's gonna be an officer available every time.
Well, that's why the dispatcher, like, well, there's only one that's allowed to, and she's tied up, which I understand being tied up, that's, I mean.
The dispatcher's supposed to call the supervisor, and he makes a decision whether, hey, yes, we can do it, we have the people on the
I
streets.
mean, we
to
got her
do
took
it.
care of her, I took her to her home, her groceries, we got her spare key, you know, all that, you know, I just, like I said, I just didn't know if there was a
Thanks
reason
to
behind
Walt
that.
working as a
You know, I'm not, she's trying to call people and crying beside her vehicle, I'm like, man, if I drove off, my grandmother would come back from the grave and.
I mean, we do
And I
a
would've
lot
done the
of
same
them.
thing.
And we try to knock them all out.
Well, she
There's
lives
not as
down
many
there,
of us as people lock the keys in the car either.
So, I mean, we took care of her and everything, got it squared away, but I just, was like, well, there's only one on duty, and I didn't know the reason, so.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, we just don't want to have somebody out there that doesn't know what they're doing, and go out there and tear something up, it's really expensive, expensive cars.
Sir?
I used to be a locksmith, and I can tell you that, you know, there's side airbags in the car, and I've had several instances of somebody that called the police when I was in Conway where I did it. The police came out and weren't properly trained, you know, there's every different car out there opens differently, and they just get a Slim Jim in there and they set off that side airbag, and that's $5,000 damage to a car.
And I'll tell you what we prefer to use is a tool called the Big Easy, so we don't go inside the mechanics, but those aren't cheap either, so we don't have like 500 Big Easies, because they're relatively expensive.
You ain't getting it on Mini Coopers, so if y'all got Mini Coopers, don't go.
But it actually, there's a lot of cities do not even offer that service, they won't do it. It's a liability.
I mean.
We do it, but we do it as we can.
I didn't wanna leave her there and have to call a tow truck, you know, tow company, cause I didn't know if that would cost her any money.
Sure.
Yeah, they
You know,
do.
They charge.
So I'm like,
Usually $50 for them to come out and watch
yeah,
the vehicle.
so, you know, we got it took care of, but I appreciate the answer.
Yeah, thank you for doing that, that's been good sense. Any other questions? If not, it's like 10 o'clock or a little
Hey, I
after
got
10
some.
o'clock.
We need some help, fire department and the police department. When it becomes nighttime and there's a night lights outside y'all's house and it's not working, y'all could report that. So put the little light in the area, and also addresses. If we can't see your address, we've got to come to your house. It might take us a little bit to find the house, we'll eventually find it, but, you know, if you need us there and really quick, and it takes
Myself, I
us
try to
another
keep
2
my
minutes.
porch light on at night all the time, so.
Hey, Matt, how would you like for that to be reported? Report a concern, they can go under Public Works and just maybe put it under miscellaneous, and that way.
However we
An
need to get it
address.
to
Yeah,
get it fixed.
because then Public Works will have to report it to the electric company, the First Electric or Entergy, whoever's the service provider in that area. And the trick with that is, for the service providers, electric companies, that's the low end of the totem, low end of the thing for them too. So sometimes it takes a while for them to get out there and fix it, but if they don't get it reported.
If they don't, they don't get reported, then they're
Then
not.
they'll never get out there. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Court.
Curb markers, where your address is painted on your curb, that has been discouraged by the city in years past.
Has it?
It has.
Wonder why?
I don't know.
I don't see it.
I know someone who was trying to do it and they just were told no.
I mean, now, if we were
That's city
doing it
property
by
and we don't
themselves.
do it. Is what
Well,
they were told.
I mean, technically it is city property, but just painting it, I don't see a big deal, especially if it's the homeowner doing it.
Well,
If
it
they're
wasn't
paying-
a homeowner, it was someone that
Yeah.
was wanting to do it.
Yeah, it could be the fact that they might not have had a business.
Yes, they didn't get the permit.
They couldn't get the permit. It was my son.
Okay. I don't see a problem with it myself, because I would think that would help the
Yes,
police.
it helps tremendously, and the fire department as well. You know, they get them big trucks. We can see it a little bit better than the fire department can. So they pull up in the big truck and they're looking, and they, you know, if they're there, you're needing something else besides, you know, you've got something going on. Probably
Yeah, I
health
could talk to
wise.
code enforcement or somebody and do a permit and see what
I don't know.
I mean, from our perspective, if you can put it on your house, probably by your door, your garage, if you can put it on your mailbox, well, that'd help the mailman too. And then if you put it on your curb too, I mean, you can't put it on there enough for us, because, and if you see us driving down the street at night and shining a spotlight, we're reading addresses is what we're doing. We're trying to figure out where the house is.
They're not looking for me.
If you put it on your mailbox, sometimes your mailbox is way down the street or across the street from your house.
That's right.
so.
What's the preferred method? Like, where do you look first? law enforcement? Is it with the
We
curb?
look everywhere. I'll be
generally
honest
look
with
by
you.
the front door myself.
There's some houses that don't have a number on them. And then, like she said, you got a mailbox that's a block and a half down, or a block down, you know, and then you got 3 houses. Well, there's
That's why you gotta put it on your house.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got a private drive, it's got 3 houses on it, and the mailboxes are all down at the entrance, that helps us not at all, as far as finding, you gotta put it on your house, you know, if there's,
Or put you a little stake out in the yard with your address on the numbers. And we look for that too.
Any way you can to identify your house, it makes it easier for the police and fire.
Someone in the room just started a business to make those
John,
stakes.
I appreciate everybody being out here, and I'm grateful for you, and I had a great
Mayor,
turnout.
Mayor.
Oh, one person,
Can I give a plug real quick?
1 second. I forgot to introduce one other person, which is Brenda Miller right here. She's one of our council members. And
For this ward.
For this ward that Bryant's, or the bishop's in, so. She is a great person to know. She's been around for a long time, and she knows a lot of ways to get things done. Let me just leave it at that.
And I will say, like Mayor Scott, I've lived here since 1989, and it's been a ride watching Bryant develop and watching Bryant grow. And it's more interesting to see it grow in the right way. And with community input like these meetings, it really helps.
And this is Judge Josh Newton. He is a judge.
That's right. And
Honestly.
thank you for doing this, Mayor. I just want to say for you guys, I heard several people say they're kind of new to the community. We've got an election coming up March 3rd for our judicial races. And in Saline County, we have 4 circuit judges. 2 of those are retiring, so there's going to be 2 open seats on our Saline County Circuit Court. I'm running for one of those positions. That's Circuit Judge Division, the 3rd Division. I'm currently the district judge here for Saline County. I'm the only candidate running that is a judge. I think that's important. So early voting will start February 18th. The election, like I said, is March 3rd, so it'll be going on. It'll start here in just a few weeks. If you hadn't got registered to vote, I think February 3rd, I think 3rd or 4th.
Yeah.
Is the deadline. So if you
This
moved
is
here
coming up Monday or Tuesday.
and want to vote in that election, you need to get registered here to vote in Saline County. And if anybody wants to talk to me, ask me any questions, I'll be happy to stick around and answer those.
register?
They would register at the county clerk's office.
In Benton.
That'd be the big courthouse, Saline County Courthouse.
Well, actually, it'll be it's the annex beside the courthouse, but it's where the actual registration is.
That's right across the street.
Can you register at the library here?
Honestly, this close to that time, I wouldn't. You probably can.
It would probably be
Just
best
like when you get
to
a
go
new
to
driver's
Memphis.
license, you can.
I've
but-
already registered.
But you gotta go through that, it has to go through those channels, and I'd be afraid if it's this close, if you wanna vote in this primary, this nonpartisan election and the primary coming up, then you need to, I would go to the county.
That's right. So this election would be the primary election for the contested races, being presidential primaries will be here, the state house, state rep,
And any
primary races.
All the nonpartisan.
That's right. And then the nonpartisan races, being all the judges run nonpartisan. We're not affiliated with any party, simply because justice should be blind. It should not matter. You apply the law equally to everyone with the tax the case. So we don't run on any party platform. A lot of people have that question, what party you're running on. Judges don't run on any party.
Neither do mayors.
And neither do mayors, that's right.
Or council members.
But just public information, March 3rd is that election date, so make sure you get registered. We appreciate you coming to vote, and I'd certainly appreciate your vote. Josh, for circuit judge.
Sir?
I know everybody's ready to go, but I just didn't forget about this. I was gonna say something earlier, but, as a department, we just wanna thank y'all. You know, we had one of our officers that was shot, and you guys have just rallied around us, and she is doing tremendously better, but she's got more surgery scheduled. She got shot in the face, if you didn't know that, she got shot in the eye. She's got some vision problems, but she is a trooper, and she is just powering through this, but it means the world to us, the way y'all treat us. We appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Sure. I'm done. You want to y'all want, y'all go home and go on.
Okay, are you gonna have buttons that say rooting for you?
Oh, my stars.
Where were you?
We've got got about 3 weeks to get those made. See what we can do.
Thank y'all for coming out. I really appreciate y'all. What can you do?